Okay, our beloved, so it's another day, and it promises to be quite a beautiful day here. Our another is in a stronger mind space today. She has turned down one of our requests and has said, well, this may be good for the universe, it is not good for me personally, and I choose not to do it right now. Doesn't mean that she's not open to our requests in the future, but just not at this moment, because she feels that it reinforces her past behavior where she enabled somebody else for their bad behavior. So she has simply said no for the time being and is going to hold steady. So we are quite proud of her, because at the end of the day, her inner growth and well-being is the most important aspect of this journey, and not her desire to surrender to something that doesn't feel good for her. Keeping in mind that our requests talk about what we would call the collective lessons, oftentimes, that she can be a catalyst to create movement out there in the world in a positive or negative way. And how her inner growth, her inner journey, her inner sense of resonance is ultimately what it's all about. So we clap our hands, encouraging her to find that inner strength. Yet we have also told her that the lessons that she was to continue to learn in one area of her life will be moved to a different area. So the lessons will continue, but with a different ping pong partner, if that makes sense. So now, here is our lesson for you all today, which piggybacks onto this. And that means that surrender is not where you become a puppet. So picture yourself just going through your life, making the decisions that you wish to make, being in the flow as you are. And then you get a zinger to your mind that says, text your friend so-and-so. And you do. And then the friend texts back right after and says, how funny, I was just thinking about you. That is what we're talking about with surrender. The majority of your day really is built on what you would call a free will process, though to a certain extent it's not, because again, you're on that river of life, and it's taking you down. And so when you pass those various points of interest, you think it is just coincidence, and it's not. It literally is what you were meant to see or view at that point and witness, right? So, but there's just so much more to this surrender journey than we can express to one another. And there's so much, honestly, we're not permitted to say, because free will, as we're defining it here, implies that you don't know the end outcome. And we don't give you the script to read, let's just put it that way, so that as you go through each moment and each day, there's novelty there. So an example is when you watch a movie for the first time, it captures your interest, you're intrigued because you don't know what's going to happen. Whereas the second time you watch it, you know the storyline, you remember the highlights, and now you watch it for other aspects. But the novelty of the movie no longer entrains you. And that is what would happen if we gave you more of your life's outline, because you would be waiting for something to happen, and you would make certain decisions with the intention of making that happen. It's no longer free will, and there's no novelty. And the whole point of this is novelty for you to figure this out. And we are here with you all to, at the end of the day, to encourage you all to connect to the divine, right? Your whole point of being here on Mother Earth is to relearn that you have the light deep within you, and it has been hidden from you, as you have been told by many others, and you keep looking outside of yourselves for the light, when it is literally hidden within you, and all you need to do is find it, and then spark it, light it, and then adjust the volume of your pilot light, right? And many of you still don't even believe this, and that's why we channeled the message yesterday on Schrödinger's cat. Because we find you humans quite silly in many ways, and we don't mean any disrespect, but you have these pointers pointing you in the right direction, and your stubbornness just prevents you from being willing to be open to certain aspects of life. And then you continue to beat your head up against the wall wondering why you don't have more clarity, or why life is as it is. And so why do you think that there is so much hurt? We're just going to leave it in the most generic form. So much hurt, so much inequality in this life. You can spend your entire life fighting it, fighting the atrocities that you see outside of you. And we are in no way saying, do not do that. But how do you fight it? If you go out there and continue to use the same energy of a baseball bat, screaming from a pulpit with your megaphone about the inequality of the inequality, well, yeah, but you are now with the same voice feeding that same energy of hatred, frustration, or whatever it is. But once you go within and connect to this inner light, and you get a better understanding of the laws of the universe, the rules of this game, you will then realize that you can game the system. You can literally, instead of running the entire gauntlet, you just step outside of the game at that point. Be love. Do the magic, so to speak, within you. Move ahead 10 squares and then hop back into the game of life, thereby avoiding all of that turmoil. So when you look at Martin Luther King Jr., we want you to really realize what a unique unicorn. Here is a black man who speaks the language of love and will not find the oppression with the white man's techniques, which is through oppression and minimization. He said no. He felt it. So we want you to look at when he was born and when he did what he did, and look at the time in history when he did that. This was a black man who stepped outside of the game, walked ahead years, because what he was teaching back then is what we are now teaching you now, if that makes sense. He stepped out of the box many, many years ahead of time and climbed back in. And then carried that vibration in the now. So you step out of the box, you go ahead the number of years to figure out what the appropriate vibration is for the solution. And then you carry that vibration in the now, thereby teaching others what it is to be that agent of change. So for those of you white people who want to change the rules of oppression, the only way, sadly, you're going to understand this is if you do what Martin Luther King did and connect to the divine. Do you think that he just magically came up with this? Seriously, people. His answer is a universal parity. And we're not going to get into that now. Our another is very confused with that vibration. It doesn't resonate with her, and it's because she is a white person. But this is the universal parity of the minority, coming to teach the majority of what the majority needs to teach the minority of, right? This man came in and showed the white how the black should not be oppressed, and he did it by being the energy of the God of the white man. Can you see the hypocrisy in that? That a black man who was seen as lesser than in that time had to come and show the white man what their white Jesus came to teach them. Now, Jesus is an energy. Jesus is an energy of universal love. And as we have told you, the church is corrupted, so that's just the reality of it. But we want you, those who are white, who are fighting the oppression of the genders and of the colors and of the socioeconomic standing divide and the political divide, all of that oppression. We're telling you, you can only get there by going within. You cannot find it on your own, because before you connect to what is within, it is still ego-driven, which is the energy of this divide. And until you white men find the energy of Jesus, and we're not talking the Abrahamic Jesus, we're talking the Christ consciousness Jesus, the one who came down to just be love, to break down and destroy the Abrahamic construct, to say this has never been the right answer. But you all just plugged and played him into the same storyline and continued with the same Abrahamic construct, which is oppression. And you call it the divine laws of God, when it's not. It is merely another weapon of oppression. So, our little lesson today is, if you want to be an agent of change, start to meditate your navel. It's the same thing. And meditate your navel is not a literal thing. It means just to go within and to figure this out, how you too can connect to that universal energy, the universal laws, the universal knowledge. And therein lies the answer now. But to a certain extent, going back to that video game analogy, this is to a certain extent a video game. When you buy a new video game and you don't even know how to play it, the first couple days are just spent on the basic construct of it. And then you start to figure out the rules. Now, then you get to level 2, level 3, level 4. And where you guys are at now in your video game, you're a millennia in, right? Well, you're kind of, if you will, at the tail end. And once you know all of the tricks of the trade of this video game, how many of you continue playing it? Right? Once you've gotten to that end goal, the finish line, you go move on to a new video game. Because what you like is the challenge of the learning. And we're just telling you all that you are in the last stages of this video game, right? Ready to move into the new video game, which is to be teachers of manifestation. So the collective is not necessarily there at the end of the video game yet, but many of you individual players are. So you're going to move into the next video game, which is to become teachers of manifestation, because you will have mastered it. You will become the professors at the university. And this video game will still be out there, and all of the other players will continue to play. And some, will be honest, are still at level 1 because they don't really have an interest in learning this. They just kind of like the existence, maybe. That's kind of their soul. They don't have as much drive. And that's just who they are. And you say, okay. And then there are others of you who are more inquisitive. And then there are those of you who really, truly are pounding the pavement, trying to change this world construct, but you're still doing it in that old energy. And which is fine, because for many of you, this is, well, we won't say it's your life's purpose, but it's how your life's purpose is currently manifesting itself because of free will. You came to find that light and to turn it on and to be it. But the point is to find it. And for many of you, you need to find it through beating your head up against the wall and being frustrated because your efforts are not being supported by the universe. And then when you transition this time and then see it, you're going to think, seriously, I had all these clues and cues and people telling me and opportunities, and I just kept saying, no, this can't be it. I don't believe in this. And then you're going to feel kind of silly, and then you're going to come back the next time, but recognizing that, until you move into a place of trust, that distrust that you carry within you will carry to the next game. It will carry with you to your next incarnation, because you're a constant evolutionary being. And think of it as DNA. If you are a seed and you grow a plant and then that seed goes to the next one, as you are changing, you carry that DNA imprint within the seed that you give off for the next generation. And that's kind of how the reincarnations play out. But you come in a different body, in a different gender, in a different part of the world, with a whole different storyline. So it gets more complex, if you understand what we're saying. But we laugh at the silliness of you guys, even though you guys are living this, and it's not quite so silly, it's painful. So wishing you all a blessed day, and so it is. Namaste.